When the SR-72 was initially brought to our attention, many people believed that it was only another notion that would never be realized. With each new piece of information that came to light, however, it became increasingly clear that Lockheed Martin was working on something that could be described as truly revolutionary. In the Skunk Works, what exactly is going on behind the closed doors of the establishment? It is true that the next step in the future of aviation in the United States has already been taken, but it has been done so in secret. Well, let's find out. A body that is black and streamlined, flowing into a nose that is smooth and needle-shaped, and wings that sweep and have two nacelles that protrude from them. The Blackbird reconnaissance aircraft, which took off during the height of the Cold War, is the aircraft that we are truly talking about, despite the fact that it sounds like we are describing some kind of futuristic aircraft. This apparatus was able to achieve a speed of Mach 3.2 and fly at a height of 85,000 feet. It was powered by two turbojet engines manufactured by Pratt & Whitney and numbered J58. This was done to prevent the pilots from just losing consciousness. Therefore, they were required to put on spacesuits. During the time when Lockheed was developing the aircraft, it had the smallest radar cross-section that was accessible through the company. Because of this, what we see in front of us is also an early attempt at designing something that is stealthy. Black ferrite iron radar-absorbing paint was used for the SR-71 paint. This paint was able to dissipate heat from the surface in a manner that was several times more effective than bare metal. In addition, it decreased the temperature of the skin and the thermal stress that was placed on the airframe. The appearance of the Blackbird became significantly more terrifying compared to before. Titanium made up approximately 85% of the framework, while polymer composite materials constituted the remaining portion of the structure. An easily machined titanium alloy that softens at a lower temperature was utilized by the specialists at Lockheed in order to prevent the generation of waste that was not necessary. Nevertheless, in order to accommodate the enormous temperatures that are generated during flight at speeds of multiple Machs, a unique strategy was necessary for the design and operation of the device. As an illustration, the primary sections of the SR-71 skin were corrugated rather than smooth. This led aerodynamicists to humorously refer to the Blackbird as the Mach 3 Ford trimotor due to the unique corrugated aluminum skin of the latter. However, this was a plausible assumption for a brand new aircraft because high temperatures would merely cause the smooth skin to break or twist. But the corrugated skin would be able to expand both vertically and horizontally, resulting in improved longitudinal strength. In order to ensure that the fuselage panels were properly aligned with the aircraft while it was still on the ground, they were designed to fit loosely against the aircraft. The body of 71 began to generate heat, resulting in a thermal expansion of many inches. There were 3 layers of glass that made up the exterior windshield of the cabin. 2 cooling portions were sandwiched in between the layers, and there was also an A&S navigation window. Because it was constructed out of solid quartz that was ultrasonically bonded to a titanium frame, the aircraft did not feel concerned about the outer half of the windshield reaching a temperature of 600 degrees Fahrenheit during the flight. The SR-71 was meticulously crafted with the sole intention of remaining invisible on the radar of the adversary. This attempt had even gone as far as to use fuel additives based on cesium in order to decrease the visibility of exhaust plumes on radar. On the other hand, even this legendary colossus was unable to make it due to the hefty expense. At the very least, this explanation was one of the primary factors that led Congress to make the decision in 1989 to cease the operation of this reconnaissance aircraft. In 1998, the United States Air Force finally decommissioned the SR-71 aircraft. With the passage of time, the question of whether or not the Blackbird should be succeeded by a hypersonic aircraft grew increasingly pressing. This is despite the fact that NASA continued to fly the remaining 2 airworthy aircraft until 1999, after which they were transferred to museums to take their proper place. The task was not an easy one because, according to some reports, the SR-71 was able to escape more than 4,000 missiles that were fired at it during the course of its years of service. It was able to operate with a sense of impunity even in the most hostile airspaces. Skunk Works came to the realization that the age of the SR-71 had come to an end, and that the time had come to build a worthy replacement for it in the very early 2000s. although it is believed that the first rumors about the SR-72 arose in 2007. The fact of the matter is that it had actually occurred far earlier than that. The years 2006 and 2007 are particularly significant due to the fact that Lockheed engineers, in collaboration with the Aerojet Rocketdyne team, had been working on an engine that was capable of reaching hypersonic speeds starting from this time period. Because the future SR-72 was supposed to have an advanced air-breathing propulsion system, Aerojet Rocketdyne applied their supersonic combustion ramjet-scramjet technology to the engine design of the SR-72. This was done so that the engine would be able to function equally well not only at subsonic and transonic speeds, but also at supersonic and even hypersonic speeds. When all is said and done, it is generally accepted that turbojets work admirably from 0 to Mach 2.2, whereas ramjets are not really suitable for use at speeds lower than Mach 5. Nevertheless, exhibit outstanding performance at speeds ranging from Mach 3 to Mach 6. Specifically, the optimal solution for Son of Blackbird was a turbine-based combined cycle TBCC system. This system included a turbine engine for the purpose of accelerating and landing the aircraft, as well as a scramjet for maneuvering at high speeds. Additionally, the inlet and nozzle of the engines would be equipped with a mechanism. A typical location, but with distinct airflow routes for each component. Due to the fact that aircraft traveling at speeds of Mach 5 and above are susceptible to tremendous temperatures that are sufficient to melt a typical metal airframe, the issue of materials in the SR-72 became a challenge, just as it was with the SR-71. In comparison, a steel hull would start to melt once it reached temperatures of 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas the fuselage of the SR-72 would need to be able to resist temperatures of 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit or even more in order to survive. As a result, engineers are faced with the complex challenge of fabricating essential components out of composite materials, such as the high-performance carbon, ceramic, and metal mixes that are utilized in intercontinental ballistic missiles and space shuttles that have already been retired. Lockheed Martin Skunk Works eventually and officially announced the development of the SR-72 on the website of Lockheed Martin in 2013. The company stated that the SR-72 will fly approximately twice as fast as its predecessor, reaching speeds of up to Mach 6 in the process. The crew backed up such a bold statement by stating that the SR-71 was constructed using technology from the 20th century, which included slide rules and paper. They also emphasized that the SR-71 was not controlled by millions of lines of program code, and that it did not run on computer chips. To put that into perspective, the SR-72 would be a beast of an entirely new generation. According to Lockheed, the design of the new aircraft would take into account the expertise that was gained while creating the Falcon Hypersonic Technology Vehicle 2. Alternately, the HTV-2 is a rocket vehicle that was developed expressly for the purpose of gathering information regarding the primary technical issues associated with hypersonic flight, including aerodynamics, aerothermal effects, guidance, navigation, and control. Additionally, the title of the news appeared to be encouraging. Stealth is being replaced by speed. In the year 2003, the Chief Executive Officer of Lockheed Martin, Marilyn Houston, stated that the corporation was on the verge of achieving a technological breakthrough that would not only enable the SR-72 to achieve Mach 6, but also enable the construction of a hypersonic prototype that is comparable in size to the F-22 Raptor for a cost of less than $1 billion. And just a short while after that, in the year 2018, Lockheed Martin Vice President Jack O'Banion offered yet another confirmation of the information that was presented in the article from 2013. When discussing how developments in the field of additive manufacturing and computer modeling became the key to the very existence of Son of Blackbird in reality, not just on paper, it is almost certain that the primary arsenal of the SR-72 will consist of hypersonic missiles. These missiles are currently being actively developed by the United States military at this very moment. Some people would argue, and they would be correct, that Lockheed would confront a number of engineering issues as a result of the huge pressure and heat that would be involved in releasing or firing hypersonic missiles while they were in high-speed flight. On the other hand, It was they who demonstrated the plausibility of the concept of successfully launching air-to-air missiles at speeds more than Mach 3 by utilizing prototypes of the YF-12 interceptor. On the other hand, we did see something that was evocative of the SR-72. It is a well-known fact that the Skunk Works division provided assistance to the authors of the Top Gun sequel in the development of the covert hypersonic aircraft known as DARKSTAR. It is interesting to note that John Nielsen was involved in the production of the movie approximately 1 month before its presentation on the big screen. The trailer of the film with DARKSTAR in the spotlight is a sneaky peek at what might be the Lockheed Martin SR-72 successor to the extremely impressive SR-71 Blackbird. The Director of Communications for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa remarked on his Twitter account. DARKSTAR is the star of the clip. What is interesting is that Skunk Works was so effective in bringing the DARKSTAR to life that China redirected a spy satellite to photograph the concept plane, assuming that it might be a secret American experimental craft. This is something that makes the situation amusing. Jerry Bruckheimer, the producer of Top Gun, Maverick, was presented with this information at the very least. On the other hand, it is possible that China is simply overly fond of cult American films. Initially, it was believed that the single-engine SR-72 prototype would begin testing in the year 2025. However, it is now more likely that the testing will commence between the 2020s years 2027 and 2029. The SR-72 is backed by the long-term hypersonic roadmap that the United States Air Force has developed, as has been mentioned in a number of media articles. This indicates that the initiative has received all of the necessary funding and is currently being carried out with the intention of gaining an advantage over Russia and China. A further inquiry concerns the amount of financial resources that Lockheed will require in order to carry out one of the most ambitious military programs in the past half-century. When all is said and done, the SR-72 will unquestionably be a project that is less serial and more expensive than the American 6th-generation fighter that is being developed through the NGAD program. Also, even if the military wants it, the United States government will not allow it. In light of the several top-secret technologies that Congress intends to incorporate into this promising aircraft, it is quite improbable that they will provide permission for an export version of the SR-72. Which year do you think we will finally be able to see the SR-72 in the skies? And how similar do you believe it will be to its Blackbird ancestor? In the comments section below, please share your ideas. In addition, if you found the video to be enjoyable, I would appreciate it if you would give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and press the notification bell to receive other content similar to the one that was just presented. Your presence is really appreciated, and we hope to see you in the next one.